We are going to have a conversation on enterprise, trade, investment, and Mombasa's gateway to this economy, and we are hosted by none other than the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry Mombasa chapter, and of course we are a chamber of excellence, just in case you are not sure of the same. And if you are in doubt, our program tells you it's the Chamber of Excellence. I will run you down on where we are going to have reflections and questions with you, and then after that we will close and go on with our day. Hopefully, if we are able to value time, we should leave here at exactly 11. But then that is depending on your pain or pleasure, because you also need to network as well. In between also, we'll be having some photos. When you see Gilitix Media Radio, just smile at them and they will be able to capture your moments. Allow me to invite our chairman, Mr. Abud Jamal, who will give us opening remarks so that this session can start officially. Let's give him a round of applause.
Mr. Ravi, from the sidelines of the ITLS, the International Trade and Logistics Summit that we hosted with our partners KIFWA sometimes last year. And it has, elicited a lot of, mixed emotions, because a lot of friendships were created. And I'm glad that from that time, Mr. Ravi, Madam Krista have been able to, work with us and be here with us leading to today. Just to give it a snapshot, Ravi, since yesterday, I've received a lot of positive response, including from the governor's office. That's why he requested that we pay him a courtesy call around midday. This is indeed a very interesting conversation that Mombasa needs to have if we need to continue to be taken seriously, especially as a gateway city to East and Central Africa. I know there's talk of a little bit of competition from our neighbors, from other upcoming ports as well, but historically, Mombasa has always had its relevance and uniqueness, and we hope that we will always be able to continue reinventing ourselves. And of course, with partners coming, from across the world, we should be able to definitely set ourselves apart and offer world-class services across all the major sectors. Just to also welcome, I think, Mr. Salim. Please, I don't know if we've done a round of introductions, but I'll request you to just come, say a quick hello before you leave. I know you need to rush out. Please. Thank you, Mr. Salim.
Good morning, everyone. I think I'll just introduce myself before the rest of you. I'm Salim Ahmed. I'm the chair of Marsabit Chamber Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I just happen to be lucky today to be here. So it's a great pleasure to see you guys and to be able to, to understand the kind of activities that Abud is doing here. And I really want to encourage him. And he's one of our, we call him super chair, because we consider Mombasa chapter as, at the same level as the national office, the national headquarters. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And I look forward to maybe interacting with few of you for the few minutes I'll be here, and then I'm here for another business. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Salim, you're going to get me in trouble with HQ. Basically, Salim is auction. We're also trying to see how we can bring Marsabit, because of Moyale border, up to speed with what is happening, especially with Lapset and the partnership with Ethiopian country as well. I think without much further ado, karibuni sana tena, Mr. Ravi. We are really delighted to have you with us. Thank you, and looking forward to a wonderful discussion. Asante.
Thank you, Chairman. So we can give him a better round of applause. For those who is speaking, my name is Otumbo Vincent. I'm commonly referred to as Otumbo Vincent. I'm a leadership and management consultant, and God gave me an opportunity to serve at the Chamber of Commerce as a director. So currently I'm of service to you. But if the chairman writes a check, I will not say no to it. So allow me to ask you a question. When you look at Africa, what do you see? Popcorn responses. When you look at Africa, what do you see? I wish I had the map. What do you see, Pauline? Opportunities, wealth, the front tables. What happened? I don't. Wisdom lies at the front tables. I'm waiting. What are you saying yes to? Untapped potential. The table where I was sitting, you know. We have a bishop now, some responses. Future. So without Africa, there's no future. I like this confidence. High table. What do you see when you see Africa? Ravi, exclude. Maybe we should ask our former director, the retired general. Is it? When you see Africa, what do you see? Then once you respond, there is somebody next to you. Yeah, she would like to also respond.
Thank you very much. Well, Africa is, from when Africa was formed, this is the granary of opportunities for the world. In fact, everybody came from everywhere where there are no opportunities, and they came here. Imagine how much we have now that we are born inside the granary of opportunities. That's it. If you think that, then you know where we are.
When I see Africa, I see a continent full of resources, full of potential, and full of capabilities. If at all we could tap into the resources. Thank you.
So, please clap for yourself, and I tell you why. Clap for yourself. That Africa that is being seen is you. That is you. So you are an untapped potential, you are an opportunity, you are a resource. And I hope that by the end of this conversation, we can change from shooting the responsibility to somebody else, but also taking the responsibility for ourselves. So I go further and ask you a few more questions. Do you see a continent of problems when you see Africa? Do you see a continent waiting for development? Do you see a continent waiting for someone else to build it? Or do you see a continent whose greatest chapter is still waiting to be written? Because that is the question behind our conversation this morning, that the Africa I see is not simply about the Africa we hope for, it is about the Africa we are prepared to build. And therefore, Africa needs builders, builders of businesses, builders of institutions, builders of industries, builders of markets, and builders of systems, because opportunities are already there. And as I have always learned, that success is not what you achieve for yourself, it is the inheritance you leave for your children's children. So if you look at your great-grandchildren and you see they don't have a future, then it's not Africa, it is you who is who needs to work a bit harder. To bring this conversation home, I'd like to invite again back to the stage the following. The person who's going to ensure that we have this conversation with Ravi is none other than the chairman of Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry Mombasa chapter, Mr. Bod S. Jamal. Let's give him a round of applause as he takes his seat. Joining him is a thinker and a practitioner whose work takes beyond conventional conversations about logistics. He is the founder and the chief executive officer and the chief architect of LOGI-CONSULT, the founder and chief architect of Africa Intelligence Corridors 2030. His work sits at the intersection of logistics, trade systems, economic corridors, and Africa's wider economic architecture. And that makes him, if Mombasa is a gateway, then what kind of economic architecture must we build around that gateway so that Africa business can create, retain, and compound value? Ladies and gentlemen, to answer that question, allow me, as you put your hands together, to invite to the stage Mr. Ravi Nusimuli to come and have that conversation with our chairperson of if Mombasa, the question they answer is, if Mombasa is a gateway, what kind of economic architecture must we build around that gateway so that Africa businesses can create, retain, and compound value? Ladies and gentlemen, I resign so that our two gentlemen here can have a conversation.
Morning once again. Mon ami Ravi.
Oui,
Bienvenue à Mombasa.
merci.
Could you start us off with a light round of introduction about yourself, who Ravi is, and what you've been up to in terms of education and basically what you're doing currently?
I'm a Mauritian. I studied international trade, transport, logistics, business management at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology University, and then came back to Mauritius for a while. And since 2020, I've been in mainland Africa. Mostly 3 years was in Cotonou, 2.5 in Abidjan, and from mid of last year, I've been traveling extensively, living in 12 cities in 15 months. So I think for me, that's a very interesting one. Besides LOGI-CONSULT, I founded LOGI-CONSULT in 2018 as a boutique logistic consultancy firm, but today it has shifted to become a logistics and trade architecture firm. And I'm also served as a research associate at the Center of Research for Maritime Ports and Logistics, as well as serving as the Trade Commissioner International of the Asian African Chamber of Commerce Industry.
Thank you, Ravi. To kickstart this conversation, when you speak about the Africa I see, a very interesting conversation. What exactly is the Africa you see?
Thank you, sir. This is a very interesting question. The journey started maybe a year before I stepped in at the Center of Research. We were discussing what is the theme of my study area would be. And a gentleman from the African Development Bank told me, oh, you need to study corridors. And this is how I started to study corridors. And very interestingly, the first one was Mombasa and the Northern Corridor, which about 43 weeks ago, we released here the first strategic blueprint. Then we went to Durban, the North-South Corridor, Port Louis and the Indian Ocean Blue Corridor, and obviously the famous Abidjan-Lagos Corridor. In all those different corridors, there's something that comes out. Very often across Africa, especially in West Africa, Francophone, there's a cliche. The cliche has been extraction, port, Asia. So all the infrastructure that has been set for a number of years has always followed this template of extraction, port, and and Asia. And what the conclusion after doing these works are? Yes, we've heard a lot that Africa is the future. There's so much potential. 1 out of 4 people living on the globe by 2050 would be African. 60% of it, 30 more than 30% of the minerals are found in Africa. All interesting things. But how do we now shift that conversation to make it a reality? And for that, there are 3 things. Number 1, we need to shift from extraction, commodities, to move to circulation. Circulation means trade. Today, the intra-trade Africa is plus or minus 15%. The real reason is there is no import substitute. How are we going to increase trade if how are we going to trade commodities? I think this is something very important. The second thing is how do we shift from infrastructure to system? We invest massively in terms of infrastructure. When you look at West Africa, all the ports want to be the hub ports. Massive investment, massive. When I'm speaking of investment, it's also loans that being taken, a lot of debts, and it does not necessarily plays the role it has to play in terms of the end user. Logistically, we speak about the end user, which is very important because we are overspending. However, what we need to think of is shifting from infrastructure to a system thinking. How do we bring the whole system so that every end user will be able to enjoy? And the last one is we need to shift from participation to be offered. What I mean by this is we sit at a participation, we participate in other economies, but we do not offer our own economies. And this is where we create, in order to have prosperity, we need to be able, first of all, to create value in terms of resources that we have in the soil or subsoil and even the sea. Yesterday, during the lecture, I shared how half of the size with the exclusive economic zone, this brings half of the size of Kenya. So that's a lot of resources. How do we create value? How do we transform value? Then how out of value that comes wealth and then prosperity. So I think these are 3 things that are important. So shifting from extraction to circulation. Second one is to shift from the concept of putting a lot of infrastructure to system thinking. And finally is about the authorship instead of participant.
It seems like you have kind of a roadmap that needs to be taken if we are to get somewhere as a continent. Basically, who do you think would be the best builders of that kind of Africa that you're painting? And what role do the African business players, the business leaders, have in such a kind of setup, basically?
For me, we've identified 7 groups or stakeholders of the African development. The first one is those who are involved in policies. Policymakers are extremely important because they are the one who design and shape the systems. The second one would be the capital stewards. Today, happy to note that the president of the African Development Bank has shifted to say that instead of looking for donors, we need now to see how we are going to exploit the various resources within Africa itself. And we work with the Mauritius IFC, obviously being Mauritian. IFC means the International Financial Center. And we really want to see today, how do we mobilize resources, not necessarily donors, but private resources in order to bring economic development. Just for info, the private contribution to global economies infrastructure would be about over 50% in a lot of economies, but in Africa it's under 18%. So you see that it's a big deficit. But saying that, we also need to understand that we need to shift from a mindset that everything is for free to be able to reach to a standard which is matured, so that those who are providing capital, they also understand that there is a process and there are the risk associated for the return of capital is taken care. The third aspect would be what we call the next generation Africa industries. These are critical. This because we have a lot of resources. And for info, for me, Mombasa is a great place to be to learn about trade, especially in the for Jesus, because there are so many things that I've learned over there that really brings things into picture. The next generation Africa industries are those who are going to industrialize. Industrialize means simply to take out what is available as resource and then to bring it into a consumable product. And for that to happen, we need to see people with a new mindset. It doesn't mean about age, but it is mostly about a change in mindset. Those who want to really start creating value, and they need to also be those who are open to do joint ventures, because we understand, we know that Africa has a deficit today in terms of knowledge. Knowledge comes from the East at the moment because of civilization has been there for a very long time. That's all. And with that, we need to create joint ventures, have access to new markets overseas. Fourth one would be the logistics people, because they are the ones who support the movement of economies. Fifth would be those in media. The media have a strong role to play in terms of building the culture. Then we also have the academia, because one thing that we see, unfortunately, in Africa is we were talking about the think tanks at our table. But normally, there is today a big deficit in knowledge in Africa. So we will copy paste models that are from other places, and we don't even value what is being done here. So academia are important. And finally, I think what also would be important is to see how the coordination economies play their role in that.
Thank you for that insight, Ravi. And I think it paints a clear picture of all the major segments in our economies that have a major role to play. I think you've painted it very nicely. One major question I normally ask myself is, we are never short of entrepreneurs, homegrown enterprises. And I'm very glad that Mr. Dominic is here with us today, because it's a good picture that I would otherwise, want to picture a homegrown enterprise that could offer you world-class services, even from here. But many a times we see that we are not able to realize a full potential of what we are able to offer in terms of services, in terms of products. So, what must African businesses become if more are to grow into serious regional and continental enterprises that could rival any global player?
Very interesting one, because in the key for industrialization do not lie in speaking about SME agenda. I'm not going to say that SME is not important. It is important, but the key for us to have regional or, for example, in Ivory Coast, they call it national champions. That's a program that the government of Cote d'Ivoire is putting in place for about 20 national champions. But what you need in order to move an economy is to have industrials who have a scale. And that scale, then you have SMEs that connect in the tissue of those ones, those industrials to be able to move. So talking about SMEs or women employment, I'm not against this one. It's very important. But in order to leapfrog and to come to that next stage, you need to be able to invest in having at least 20, 30, or 50 local national champions that are going to, because they are the prime movers. And then you have the SMEs which plug in into the ecosystem. When you look at the concept of suppliers, you have the supplier tier one, tier two, up to five, right? So we need to be able to look at the industry policy and framework, how the large industrials how they play a role, and how the SMEs connect into that. I think this is something very important. And the second thing to that now is, how do we start maturing our mindset? The mindset that everything is here for free needs to shift. And we need to start valuing advice, valuing every other things to be able to uplift the level. What is the difference today between an African industrialist and an Asian industrialist or a European industrialist? We are all the same. So it's a matter of mindset and positioning.
Perfect. Well put, Ravi. Moving closer back home, Mombasa. Historically, we were having a chat yesterday. You know, if it was not for us having the port here right now, what would Mombasa have been? That was, you know, just trying to get us to think outside the box, basically. According to you, why has Mombasa become such an important geography in your thinking?
After having lived more than 6 years in Africa mainland Africa, I don't see Africa as a country with a land of 54 countries. I see it more as a land of kingdoms, tribes, and clans. And cities are so important, because cities are the one that connects the full region. Let's take, for example, for instance, here, the Northern Corridor. It is something which is normal. It has been here for over 1,000 years, right? And what is important for me is Mombasa plays a strategic role in terms of connecting the Indian Ocean, connecting the various other countries of other continents to this geography. So it's not only to connect to Kenya, but it goes beyond to all the countries along the Northern Corridor. But you said something amazing yesterday when you were talking about part of a central corridor which is also connected, like Zambia, right? So there is a history in terms of connection. So connecting the sea to the hinterland is very important. But then you also have Mombasa. Mombasa civilization doesn't date 100 years ago, doesn't date 200 years ago. It goes back to the 10th or the 12th century. And when you look at civilizations of this sort, there is so much of a wealth that has been created and passed on over years. And I said something yesterday during the lecture, which I strongly believe, that this is the right place, at least one of the right place across Africa. If you want to learn about trade, you come here and learn. there is and you also see that in the culture, that there is an entrepreneurship culture that is demonstrated across the different people. So this is why I think that Mombasa is very important as a city.
Sure. And when you look at Mombasa, what do you see beyond the port?
Um, the port has a role to play, but beyond that, first of all, the city exists because of a port. Across, maybe allow me to add this one, but because this might shift the thinking of some people. Across there's a new tendency across the world to focus on the port city interaction. Why? Because without the port, the city would not have been here, and without the city, the port cannot work. You see that in Antwerp, in many other places of the world. And I think it is very important that the port and the city interaction, including moving towards an own part of ownership, is critical because it gives the port and the city an identity which is very, very essential. So that's one. But beyond that, beyond the port being a regional distribution center, beyond the port being the in and out of the country, I think there are at least three other sectors that needs to be looked into. Number one is the city in itself. The city in itself is a city of logistics. So urban logistics for all the coastal region, this is something amazing that needs to be looked into. The other two ones would include how do we now make a productive system. Productive system is how do we create value. We talk about SEZ, but the SEZ is an instrument. It is a two system, one state instrument where it gives a signal to that the government wants now to go in terms of creating value. And that value is through industrialization. So how does, what are the value chains? We cannot just, someone cannot just come out of a blue and say, okay, I want to do something, come in, but no. But what are the value chains that the city of Mombasa would want to be part of to be able to produce value? So 6, 7, 8 value chain. I think this is something very important. The nearshoring hub is very important when we talk about at least 40% of the value chain of every product that are imported across the corridor needs to be done here. This is an important one. And finally, I put that as knowledge, but also visitors and students coming here. People come here, yes, for the port, but they also need to come here. I know a lot of people from Kenya come here because for tourism, but people can also come here to study. People can also come here to do business meetings and MICE, like we talk about. I think there are many other facets that needs to be shaped in order to bring what I call the Mombasa gateway economy as opposed to only the port.
I like that little bit of challenge. I think basically we need to call for kind of reinventing and reimagining Mombasa aside from only the port activities, basically. And it's a conversation that we could maybe also pick up with the governor when we pay him a visit later on. And I think it's very important just to keep it in perspective. Two examples that I would borrow globally is Canary Wharf in London, where it was almost a dead place because there was no logistics activities taking place after the coal handling and everything. And basically, um, the authorities in London saw it fit to reimagine and redevelop the place, and it's turning out to be a beautiful piece of address at the moment. Another one would also be Malmo city, where it used to be very active in terms of shipbuilding, but it practically went dead when it could not happen anymore in terms of effectiveness and cost-wise. So they had to also reimagine the city and redevelop it into something more appealing, away from the activities that traditionally or historically they are known for. So I think it's also a very serious conversation that we need to have regarding Mombasa as well. Lastly, as we wind up this conversation, what opportunities does the emergence of a Mombasa gateway economy, as we reimagine it, create for the business leaders and entrepreneurs in this room and beyond?
This is extremely important. And this question needs to be addressed before that national or county investment agencies go out to the international markets. There has been a tendency over multiple years that we need FDI. Yes, FDI is important, but we need to mix FDI, which is foreign direct investment, with domestic capital. I'm a strong believer today that the nationals should be the one who has a majority share and then do joint ventures, whether with Asians, Europeans, or whoever you name it, because we need to have a shared prosperity model. But having said that, and this is where I think KNCCI or other talent capacity building needs to be able to bring forth is the quality of business leaders. It's only then that it is my opinion, it's only then that I would advise that the national investment agencies or the promotion agencies or the county one go out. Because if you don't know what is the capacity of your own people, you will bring other people in and you will erase potential for multiple generations ahead of potential that is in your own land.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi, for this wonderful insight. I think we are ready for the panel to be able to get some little bit more insights and, of course, some reactions and input from the panelists as well. I don't know if you have any parting shot for the audience as we conclude.
For me, I think Mombasa is a great place to be. There's a lot of history.
What we will do is we will have him there just in case you have questions, you are able to shoot them direct to him. In the next panel discussion, maybe before I invite the next panel discussion, I can do a little bit of a recap. In the Africa IC, we need to look at 7 key stakeholders to get this conversation going. Please add the chairs for me on the stage. One is policymakers, the regulators, KMA, thank you for coming again. So policies, what are policies? Are our policies futuristic, or are they addressing current issues, symptoms, or the root cause? Capital stewardship, finance institutions, apart from depending on foreign investments, what about the local investments? The next generation of Africa industries. If you are a business owner, how are you running your business? Are you running your business to meet the needs of today, or are you building an ecosystem for the future? Logistics, media, academia, what are the kind of training programs do we offer in schools, in campuses, and all that? And then the economy. And the most important thing from the conversation that has just happened is the mindset shift. What is our mindset? In the circle of control, influence, and concern, what is your mindset in running your business? And then, of course, you also repeated the point of nothing is free. I didn't know that I was going to say something you are going to say. And then from yesterday's conversation also, we learned that we need to build value. And most importantly, the port we have in Mombasa, yes, but we need to see it as an anchor to Africa's ecosystem. All right, with that said and done, allow me to invite the following to the stage for the next conversation. Please, you will give them a round of applause as I introduce them. So the first panel speaker we are going to invite to the stage is an entrepreneur and industrialist. She's the chairperson and chief executive officer of Texamed Industries, and she brings the perspective of someone who understands what it means to build and grow an enterprise. She is also serving as an advisory board member and leads the Trade, Investment and Blue Economy Committee at the Global Chamber of Commerce Mombasa chapter. Let's give a round of applause to Krista Mfasoni. Capital is very important, and it is often described as the fuel for growth. But capital does not simply ask which business is exciting. To also answer these questions, we will be inviting to the stage the next panel speaker, who is none other than Wilfred Opie. He is a relationship manager, commercial banking at Absa Bank, and brings the perspective of finance and commercial banking to our discussion. Let's give him a round of applause. The next one will be a representative from the Kenya Maritime Authority, an institution at the heart of Kenya's maritime sector. He brings the perspective from that industry, and this is because Mombasa's future cannot be separated from the ocean. His name is none other than Mr. Juma Ahmed. Let's give him a round of applause. The next speaker is none other than a gentleman from the political world. He is currently the member of County Assembly for Bamburi Ward and represents a constituency at the intersection of people, enterprise, youth, urban development, and blue economy. His name is none other than Hon Patrick Mavula Mbele. Let's give him a round of applause. All right. So please, if you can help me remove one chair from here, and then Patrick, if you could jump in.
Thank you, everyone. As introduced, my name is Juma Ahmed from Kenya Maritime Authority, and I think within this discussion, I will be highlighting the role of government in policy-wise towards enhancing investment and how we can be able to build the port city and link it with the industry and be able to industrialize our port city. So hopefully we shall have a very fruitful discussion.
Thank you.
Good morning. Patrick Mbele is my name. As Ali introduced, I'm a member of County Assembly representing Bamburi Ward, but also the chairperson of the Blue Economy Committee at the Assembly. Mine purely would be to see how we can link the people or the person's participation in this whole conversation around moving from letting cargo pass through the port of Mombasa to creating value out of it. So mine will equally be to listen from you and participate in this conversation. Asanteni.
Good morning. My name is Wilfred Opie. I'm a relationship manager Absa Bank within a segment called commercial banking, basically supporting the mid-tier businesses.
Thank you. We can give them a round of applause. So to set a little bit about context, we are discussing the Africa we see. When Ravi and Chairman Abud were here, they have casted sort of a vision. Today's conversation is anchored on 4 things: vision, opportunity, capability, and action. The vision has been casted, but now we need to move from the Africa we see to the Mombasa we can build, because that is where we have control. That is where we can take action That is where we have opportunity to lead by ourselves, where we do not need to outsource leadership from anyone else. So we are moving from the Africa we see to the Mombasa we can build, and ultimately to the businesses capable of building that. Now, in this conversation, we are going to have, I'll ask a few questions, maybe 2 to each panelist. Then we will open up questions from you to be able to ask them. So as they build up and as they lead the conversation, be ready to also be ready to ask questions. And in this segment, our big title is Building the Businesses That Will Build the Mombasa Gateway Economy. And the first question is going to be, a question to Krista. What changes when a company moves from simply running a successful business to deliberately preparing itself for scale?
Thank you so much for the question. What changes most of the time is you start pulling that judgment out of your head and putting it into systems. Because you see, capital don't move into a person. When investors come, they invest into systems that survive without the founder. I'll give you an example. Most companies, when you start, you have a founder, and you thrive because of relationships, networks. But when you start scaling regionally, you will need a track record. You will need documentation. You will need a delivery, a consistency in your deliverables. You will need to be compliant. So when you are preparing to scale, you need to work on these at the beginning of your business, not when you are starting to grow. At the beginning, because the moment investors come in, they will request for those documentation. I will also say you need to shift from local trust to provable record regionally. Then you have to make sure that your quality is good. You need to make sure that you are up to that standard. You don't start working on that at the point of growth, because then you don't have the time, because growth is built and building takes time. Thank you.
Thank you. We can give a round of applause, please. It's good to appreciate each other, and you don't have to wait for me to tell you. If you feel the point is home, just appreciate. I will not tax you for that. All right, thank you for that. From what I'm hearing is that, especially for the businesses of founders, yes. If you're thinking longevity, you need to put your thoughts, your ideas, your excellence into a system that can outlive you. And investors, whether it's local or international, they invest in systems that work. And for them to work, you need to move from growth, from local trust to provable record. Now, that said and done, allow me to jump into the next conversation. But before I do that, let me do a follow-up question to you, Krista. What is the one thing you wish more Mombasa entrepreneurs will fix before they start asking for expansion capital?
Mombasa as a county or enterprises?
Entrepreneurs.
I would, if I would pick one thing, it's management depth. You see, you can get capital, you can buy capital, you can buy a system, you can, but building a leadership chain that is going to manage all that you have built, it takes time. So I would say you build a layer of management that survive without you being in the room. because before expanding, let's say that you want to go in West Africa, you need to have a team that can second you. You can send someone there and the system will keep functioning. I would say it will be investing in the capacity to absorb the growth that you're expecting to have. Not at the point of growth, but in the beginning, so that the moment it comes, it doesn't take you a surprise.
Thank you. I remember there is a gentleman who wrote a book called From Good to Great. A lot of people read that book and they built businesses from good to great, but they died. So he discovered that a company can be great, but die. So he wrote a second book and he said, build to last. Now, how do you build a business that can be able to last? And then another gentleman came to realize, and that actually that is also the reason why we have management issues and leadership, is that most of our African enterprises do not value things like strategy, capacity building, and all that. And so if you are sick, your business is sick. It's only you who has network. Your staff do have nothing to do with the network and all that. So they wrote a book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. How can we stop competing with other industries and just compete with ourselves? Because you are the greatest competitor. And what your response is a reflection of the 3 books that I've talked about. But I feel you want to add something, just go ahead and add it.
We need to believe in ourselves first, and that's a mindset shift. We need to start believing in ourselves. We need to invest in our people. We need to make sure that when you employ someone, when you are choosing your directors, for example, you need to open them even to your network, because it has to work whether you are there or not. It has to outlive you. China is the way it is today because they build things that outlive them. Most of the African founders, they want to build something and it always revolves around them. You need to make sure that you empower people. Even if they leave you at the end, at least you would have trained, you would have added value on that market, not only to you, because the world does not revolve around us. If I train someone good enough to go and add value to another company, I feel proud because I have added value on the market, not only to myself. It will end up benefiting the continent, the country, and wherever he goes. So we need to stop being selfish and start empowering our people, believing in our people, and making sure that we are competing with ourselves, not with the world. You know, making sure that we get better every day, making sure that we aim high, making sure that when a product is made in Africa, it's not labeled as a substandard product. We need to start aiming of making products that are FDA approved, European Union approved, those kinds of standards. Yeah, I think that's where I would go, investing in ourselves and believing in ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Tying with the questions you've responded, allow me now to switch to Mr. Ravi and ask him this question to see how he will cement this conversation. Mr. Ravi, what distinguishes a company capable of becoming a serious regional African business from one that remains fundamentally local? Because if we keep thinking local, there is nothing like Africa, I see. We need to think international. So what distinguishes a company capable of becoming a serious regional African business from one that remains fundamentally local? Is it capital? Is it systems? Is it leadership? Is it technology? Or is it something deeper from the comfort of your seat?
Thank you. But let me return back on what you said. I don't think that a company has a life, and it goes through generations according to what's required of it at that time. So you can have a business that will grow for a particular time, and when it's out of season, it will not be any relevancy. But how do we today have local companies, let's put it in context, Mombasa companies, who have regional reach. That would depend on, first of all, on the mindset, the strength of the entrepreneur, but also the transition that is done from the first generation to the second and third generation leaders. I think it's very important to have the founders to stay for a while, but then as you scale up, you need to have other people that comes in to be able to take it to the next level. So for me, people is very important. Mindset and the strength of people are important. Capital obviously is critical in order to be able to scale up. And for this one, interesting to see a bank here. The investment appetite needs to also to be synchronized with what the market is moving towards. And very often you see that the investment appetite of financial institutions and the entrepreneurs are different. But coming to this to a path together is important.
Thank you. We can appreciate Ravi. Now that we've been talking about capital, I will go to Mr. Wilfred. Every entrepreneur loves the word money. If you ask any entrepreneurship class, what are the three things you need to start a business? Number one, capital. Why are businesses suffering? Because of lack of capital. Okay. And when we come to ABSA, I don't know if we will get the capital. From the perspective of a commercial bank, Mr. Wilfred, what separates a promising business that needs money from a business that is genuinely ready for investment and growth?
Thank you, Vincent. And you rightfully put it across. Every business, of course, needs money to grow. However, what differentiates a business and an investment that is focused on growth is, of course, as indicated earlier, who are the drivers of this business? So critical is the passion, the founders, who are they? What kind of future do they see for this business? When you're starting a business, you're obviously looking at the end. The end here being what's the impact you're going to have. Impact talks to the consumer, who is your customer, but then how do you position yourself? So for banks, what is critical is the fact that this person who's driving this business, is this someone who's of high esteem? Is he someone who's of integrity? Then secondly, we look at how is your business documentation positioned, in the sense that how do you use, how do you bank? How do you put money in the account? How the financial statements, how do you put your records correctly? Then critical, of course, is then as you approach a bank, how are you able to now navigate the challenges that you see in the market? Of course, what people mostly forget to look at is that businesses have a wider reach and they're exposed to various challenges, including, of course, currently you'd have, for example, if you look at the coming year, we have the elections coming in. How are you positioning yourself to be able to navigate such kind of challenges? So as in summary, would be who are the founders? And when you're looking at the founders, are you looking at a business beyond the founders? Number two is record keeping. Are you able to provide documentation that when a bank looks at, they are able to actually say that this is a sound business? Then importantly is a bank is supporting you looking at the future. So when you're looking at the future, do you have a view of what that future looks like? So today I want to grow from 1 branch to 10 branches. What does that mean to you as a business person? So those 3 are very critical.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Wilfred. And I will now like to merge the two of you, Krista and Wilfred, into one, because Krista on the other side is on the entrepreneurship side. You're running a business. Wilfred, you are on the capital side. So I would like to understand, I want a little bit of a fight amongst yourself. What do entrepreneurs and financiers misunderstand each other? Where do they misunderstand each other? When Krista walks into your office, and you also sometimes walk into the office. Nowadays, I see you even walk into our offices through emails. So the question is, where do you misunderstand each other? Or what are the red flags amongst the entrepreneur and the person who has the capital?
Thank you. I think the biggest misunderstanding which I've seen over the years is where most banks fail is you do not connect to the customer, in the sense that there's a lot of over-reliance on documentation. And probably when I'm looking at, say, your statement or your financials, I may not really appreciate the dynamics of your business. So what presently most institutions are insisting on as part and parcel of positioning a proposal to a bank is that, have you visited this particular business? Do you understand the dynamics? Do you understand the challenges that the business is facing? What are the opportunities? A client may approach a bank that they need something which may not necessarily be the right requirement that they have at that particular point. So it's all about bringing the different aspects and requirements of the business and then positioning it in a way that the bank now understands.
Thank you. Krista, fire back.
I'll have to disagree on that. Where entrepreneurs fight with or don't understand the banks is most of the time the risk appetite of the bank is not as huge as the entrepreneur risk appetite. It's understandable on both sides, but I feel like local banks or even banks locally and do not consider the realities here. Because if we say that we want to see an Africa that is developed in 2050, for example, you need to understand where we are working from. You're not going to ask a startup for a 5-year audited financials. It might be a very great idea. It might be an idea that is going to generate millions and millions. And what you will see is maybe that entrepreneur needs guidance from you, where you can, as a bank, you can protect yourself, making sure that you're not releasing actual money. You are releasing instruments like an LC to pay for some of the things, and making sure that the money that is being generated by the business is paying that LC. There are a lot of instruments that you can use as a bank that most banks don't consider, and they will just say a no for no good reason. And also another thing is, we keep singing that women empowerment, and I feel like, personally, it's brought up in such a wrong way. It looks like it's a favor that they're doing to women, which is not true, because they are adding value. They are not asking for something for free. They are putting value on the table. I don't like the fact that banks see us as just statistics, not as actual economy movers. That's another point that bank sometimes don't consider. And also another thing is, most bankers sit in their office. They have not done business. They have not built something from scratch. It is very hard to drive something from a thought, from a vision to an actual business. It takes a hell of energy, a hell of resilience, a hell of patience. And also, I feel like banks should do better. maybe reduce their risk, but step in so that we can see the Africa that we keep singing, you know. We will not see it, you will not wait for someone to get somewhere for you to step in. That entrepreneur needs you at the beginning, at stage 0, literally. The moment you step in there, you grow with him. You will find that you are having a multi-million business as a client that you started maybe as a loan, that started maybe on a loan with your bank. Yeah, I feel like banks should really be more understanding on that side and start walking the journey with entrepreneurs, not jumping on an opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We will not allow him to respond. We will allow him to plan on how to take risks with the risks of entrepreneurs, the risk appetite of an entrepreneur. Allow me to, yes.
Sorry, it's just a rejoinder. Apologies. How to position yourself, as you rightfully put it. So, what I look at is what banks look at, especially for businesses that are startup. For sure, it's a very difficult conversation. That I agree. And if you present yourself just as a startup, I can guarantee you that in acceptance will be less than 10%. So the best way to look at it is, number one, who are the people behind the business, in the sense that it could be a startup, yes. However, probably the drivers of the business are people who have had a wider view in terms of the type of financing you want, the type of the direction you want to take the business to. So importantly is how do you position yourself to the bank? Because I think there's a lot of work that we also need to do as bankers, in the sense that most of the time, to avoid a lot of work, because for supporting a startup at the back end requires a lot of work in terms of how do you position that particular proposal. But the biggest challenge comes as a result of the people who are actually putting forward that request.
All right. Let's appreciate Krista and Wilfred. And the conversation continues on how we can position ourselves. Now, allow me to jump to the gentleman next to me, Mr. Juma. And Mombasa sits between the Indian Ocean and a vast continent market. Where do you see the greatest opportunities for maritime activity to generate deeper business capability and economic value onshore?
Thank you very much. The port of Mombasa, as we look at it, I think over the last 10 years or 5 years, our cumulative average growth has been about 12.5%. Last year, the port handled around 41.5 million tons. And from there, we had 2.15 million TEUs handled at the port of Mombasa. This is a huge growth at the port of Mombasa. If you look at the number of vessels which call the port of Mombasa, there are around almost 1,900 vessels that call at the port of Mombasa. This is immense business coming down at the port of Mombasa, and there are several sectors which are underinvested, as we say, in the port of Mombasa. I'll give an example. Out of this 1,800 vessel call, I think less than 200 vessels took bunkers at the port of Mombasa. And those who took bunkers, sometimes they just took enough to go and fuel in Durban or to go and fuel in Dubai. Like our few suppliers who are there, even they don't either trust us, I don't know what, but it's something, a conversation we need to have. A vessel comes here, discharges maybe a bulk grain, is going to the US, they'll take 100 tons, they'll say, we'll fuel in Durban. This is a $500 million prospect industry, which is untapped in the port of Mombasa. So we have a lot of potential. You have vessel owners who take their vessel which are operating in the region, take them to Dubai for repairs. And we have we have a minimal capacity. Sometimes it takes a lot of time for the years also which we have to meet the demand of not just Kenya, because we serve also the region, the Tanzanian vessels and other regional vessels also, they come for repairs in Mombasa. So what we before I talk about the potential, what we need to do now, and in collaboration with maybe KNCCI, the Chamber of Commerce, we need to do a prospectus of the investment opportunity in the maritime sector. So that, or in the blue economy sector, what needs to, what are the areas for investment? What kind of investment are we looking for? Currently, from the policy-wise, we are developing a maritime investment policy, and also an incentive regime for the blue economy industry and the maritime industry, where we seek to incentivize the industry to attract more investors. So we have a huge potential in terms of investment. Look at the number of vessels coming in inside the port, the growth of the trade, and we need to match the growth. And as a port city, if you look around the globe, visit any major country, the port city has a big headache to balance the growth of the port, and also now to ensure that the minimal land or the minimal land usage around the port is put in the priority projects. So we have grown exponentially, and sometimes this growth every day inside and outside the port, we have about 5,000 trucks going in and out. We have thousands of trucks going to empty depot, to CFSs. And if we don't plan in today, then it will be chaos going forward, because the growth is there. The growth is continuing. The port is expanding. We have the Dongo Kundu coming up. So what is our strategy? What is it's not now, we have a port master plan, but do we have the port city master plan? Where do we want the port city to be in the next 10, 20 years? What is our plan? I have been in Mauritius, so you can look at their public transport system, you can look at the way the port is managing. In Europe, we have an electronic port community system which links everyone in the city, the B2B conversation, the B2G conversation. They're mostly done within the city. So in terms of opportunities, what we have, because we have more vessels, we have more need for ship repairs, ship building. We have more vessels, we have more needs for vessels to be supplied with stores, ship channeling, maritime equipment and all that. And most of the time, it's either they ship it while the ship is en route, they ship these things from Dubai, they meet them in Mombasa, or they'll have to take it to the next port, because now we are not meeting the needs of the industry. And when we meet, sometimes also we are not cost competitive, or the bureaucracy sometimes involved may be expensive. So as a port city, this conversation is very important, and I urge the Chamber of Commerce that we keep on this conversation. So we have so many prospects in terms of the industry, and I believe now you have seen a lot of interest which is coming in the Doko Kundu area. We believe with time we shall have a shipbuilding facility. We believe in time with the millions of containers coming in Africa, we can have a facility maybe in Kenya which will build these containers. Because if we handle all these containers in Africa, and why do they have to be built in China? And we have a very flourishing steel industry in Kenya. Why don't we build these containers in Kenya? So this kinds of conversation, I think, is critical. From the government side, is how to incentivize this industry and be able now for them to meet, and also now to de-risk this industry. So one of the most critical, as I wind up, and from a study we recently did with the University of Nairobi, is the information. Information is very key. The lack of information on how to invest. What do I need to invest in this? If it's a conversation we really need to sustain from the chamber perspective, and for us, we have a close partnership so that we can be able to build on it. Thank you.
Thank you. We can give Mr. Juma a round of applause. Now I'll pick on Mr. Patrick Mbele. The question is, what does blue economy actually mean?
Thank you, moderator. Before you answer the question, I would just wish to say something around what Ravi just presented to us yesterday and today.
Yes.
During the campaigns, I was a proponent of a statement called $1, one container, and really wanted to have $1 from every container for the county government of Mombasa as revenue. But again, today, I sit to regret that I asked that question, and true to that statement, we were given that one, I think it is now $10 per container, and $4 per container, and a few dollars for every tonnage of loose cargo. The other question that we didn't ask or we didn't think about is then what industries do we develop out of the presence of the port here in Mombasa? And thank you, Ravi. Now that our brains are much more open from your presentation, I think that is what now we need to carry to the assembly. And it also opened up my brain to now answering a question: what is blue economy? From the perspective of a local mwananchi or a local leader, we all, at most of the times, think of the blue economy as the fisheries industry, and we leave out the logistics side and many other sectors of the blue economy because of what the director from KMA, Mr. Juma, said, lack of information. But from where I sit now and from the information that I've got, I think blue economy is more than just the fishery industry. The logistics side, all the way to the hotel business, going all the way to, there's something to talk about the fiber optic business that now landed in Mombasa very many years ago. What advantage have we taken out of it as the people of Mombasa? Apart from it is also the manpower that we have. The people that sit around or live around the entire coastal line, they are a resource to the blue economy sector. And when you talk about the blue economy itself, we talk about even the people that are across the entire value chain of the blue economy sector. The question that we should be asking ourselves again is, how much capacity built are they to consume the value that comes out of the blue economy sector? From the presentations that have been given to us, we talk about volumes of cargo that pass through the port of Mombasa. Again, the other question we ask ourselves is the blue economy sector only the items or the services that come from the blue economy sector, from the blue economy belt, or is it the value that we build out of that which comes from the blue economy? So it's a bigger discussion that needs much more thinking, and this now has opened us up to thinking more. Is blue economy just that which comes and passes through the ocean, or is it also interlinked to that which also is on land and can benefit out of the blue economy sector?
All right. We can give him a round of applause. I would like to proceed further. So we have the ocean, we have the ports, we have fisheries, we have tourism, we have maritime transport, we have logistics, we have marine resources, we have thousands of young people looking for opportunity. And yet the question remains, why does the presence of the ocean not automatically translate into prosperity for the people living beside it? So Hon Patrick, what is the gap? Is it the skills? Is it access to finance? Is it policy? Is it information? Is it technology? Is it market access? What is the gap?
I think the gap that we have ultimately is lack of a proper plan on the investment around the blue economy. We were having a conversation yesterday with chairman, and we're asking ourselves, if and when we got independence and did not have the port established, right from the 1878 times, when we had our, the first cargo of the East African community trying to build the railway system, if we do not have that port built at that time, what would we be having today in Mombasa? We do have a port where vijana go to just sit and bask. So I think the biggest gap that we have as of today is lack of a proper plan towards how we're going to invest in the blue economy sector. And that again comes from, and this you'll forgive me because you're all citizens of Kenya and we're proud of what we are, but there's something that we should not be proud of is the quality of leadership that we put ahead of us to lead us. The quality of leadership that we put ahead of us should then be able to think and determine for us what kind of value we get out of the blue economy sector. One of us who would not want to say, we were discussing yesterday, we have so many young people around Kisauni, Changamwe, and many other places who are jobless. And we have the biggest intake from the cruise ship industry being taken all the way to Nairobi. Most people that go for cruise ship jobs are from Nairobi and not Mombasa. The question asking ourselves is, as leaders, what are we doing? And the answer that I got from that stakeholder is that most of the leaders take students to go and do STCW, safety course, and not going to get the skill itself of what is needed for a person to be in the cruise ship industry. So I would say lack of a proper plan, because as we speak today, as the county government of Mombasa, I would not sit proudly here and say we have a roadmap towards probably Vision 2030 or Vision 2060 around the blue economy sector. But again, and as much as we have that problem, I think time has come for now to sit together as stakeholders of Mombasa, as citizens, as leaders, to think together from this blue economy sector that Ravi has opened up to us. What can we do together? So in as much as we have a gap, but now we have an opportunity to think together and go towards a thriving blue economy sector.
Thank you. Thank you. And just like I had put Wilfred and Krista together, I want to put you together. You also fight a little bit. So my question is, what will it take? So this is an answer question. You need to respond, both of you. Juma and Patrick, what will it take to create a genuine pipeline from Mombasa's young people into maritime and blue economy jobs, businesses, and enterprises? And most importantly in that question, whose responsibility to do that?
Thank you very much. And let me put it in the perspective first. The maritime industry, on the seafaring industry, we have the seafaring on the cruise ships, we have the seafarers on the cargo ship. Both sides, we have a huge shortage of seafarers. The cruise industry is very demanding. They are looking also for skilled seafarers. Equally, the cargo side is also looking for qualified seafarers. Over the years, what challenge we had, we stopped training. The only training institution we had is Bandari, and the other officers who, onboard officers, being trained were KPA officers, pilots who were trained outside. And when even KMA was established, we could not even find people to recruit in this market. So we were recruiting retirees from KPA to sustain our operation. Everyone who comes, his salary demands, and they are few. Even today, we have positions which have not been filled for Kenya. So we have started as a government. We have several institutions KMA has approved to offer seagoing training. And unfortunately, the journey of making a seafarer an officer is a long journey. Today, we have demands. Let's say a ship, they want chief officer, they want second officers, they want chief engineers. We don't have in the market because we have young officers who are coming. The good part now, we have started the journey. It will take time for journey. We are trying to address the issues of our cadets getting sea time. We have signed agreements with several countries. We have a special committee which was formed to ensure that we place these young people on board vessels. And several of the shipping lines have agreed to assist us in that, so that we can place them for training and employment thereafter. So one thing we need to have is a collaborative framework within the industry. How can the county government come in? I've seen the governor and the leadership of Mombasa, they have a program, Skills Mitaani. How can they collaborate? Because now, for you to work on board, you have to show experience. Even if you don't have a certificate, but you have to have a letter now from one of the big hotels. We have over 33 hotels which are 3-star and above in Mombasa alone. how do we ensure this youth can get training? Can the county of Mombasa offer the incentives to these hotels to give them 6 months training? So from the 6 months training, then we have them ready for employment. So the challenge is not to train, as you have said, the challenge is to make job ready. Most of our youth are not market ready. They may have papers, but they are not market ready. And we need to have a rapid response, sort of a rapid response or a rapid plan, an RRI on how we can be able to say, because our targets are very high. The government targets for us, we have to place 10,000. In the next 3 years, we have to at least place 10,000 youth on board vessels. Those are our targets. And we are working around the clock to see how we can be able to do that. But we cannot do it alone. We need the work of other agencies, the county government, the stakeholders, the hotel industry in Kenya. So unfortunately, the shipping companies now are competing with the hotel industry in Kenya because they're also going for their top staff. So we have to have a pipeline where we are able to replace for the local and also replace to feed the international market. So it is work in progress. We are trying to have more incentives, more of a government-supported placement program where we can be able to sponsor the student also to go on board. You know, the initial part of the seafaring career, the cadetship, is more or less like an expense to the ship owner. So they don't want to take as much because they are not working at the time they're training. So how can we be able to support that? But immediately after that, then they can find their employment. But the good news is that from where we sit, every month we get requests for students who wants to do their oral exams. Oral exam is when they have finished their training on board. Now they want to get their license. So we have more and more requests we are doing for oral exam. From there, then we issue them with a license. So it means things are working, but not as fast as everyone wants us to work, to be, but we are moving forward. And also now for the other industry now, for the other industries, let's say the shipbuilding, ship repair sector and all that, incentives are being developed. We have finished the policy. We are about to start the stakeholders engagements across the country, so that we subject these policies to the stakeholders before now they can go for the final approval and gazettement. So it is there are a lot of efforts which are done, but what I call for is more of a collaboration now from the county government, the business community, the chamber under the Chamber of Commerce. How can we use our strength? How can we leverage? We are at the coast. We have so many hotels, but at the end of the day, if these young people, they go for an interview, they fail. And most of the time when the interviews are done, the recruiters are getting less than 20% of what they wanted. So it's not that the position are filled, but we don't have what to offer, what is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can hear also academia is there. The youths want opportunities, yes, but what courses are they doing? Are the institutions training them for the future skills that will be needed in the industry? So it's a whole ecosystem, and that is why Ravi said we have 7 key stakeholders, and one of the key stakeholders was academia. So Hon Patrick, you can respond to the question I had asked earlier within a minute. So what we will do is I'll open the floor. If you have a question you will ask, we'll do a maximum of 3 questions, then I'll ask the final 2 questions and we'll wrap up this. If we answer everything today, the chairman may never invite us for another breakfast. So we have to, you know, yeah, thank you. Patrick.
I think if we are to scale up and become better on the blue economy sector, or the entire conversation we've been having, it's not a single person's responsibility. It's not about government itself. When you look at how development is done within probably a county, it starts all the way from the CIDP that was created after the campaigns and runs through 5 years. And every year we have an ADP annual development plan, which goes all the way to different sectors until it becomes a budget. And before a budget is passed through the assembly for implementation by the executive, we go to the Mwananchi to go and ask for, we do public participation. So if you look at all that process, including development of infrastructure and even skills, it starts from the person. So at this particular moment, I would not say that this is a one-person approach. It has to be that everybody is brought on board, both the government institutions, private sector, the people themselves on ground, and every other person who is actually interested or thinks of the blue economy sector, something that can help us thrive. One thing that I would also wish to say is that in as much as we're looking at growing together, there's also another precedent that has been set over time. You'd find the assembly, the county assembly. I think most of you are actually surprised of how a member of county assembly would be sitting here to sit in this kind of a panel. And I should thank the chairman for that. Most of the times, government does not talk in the same language with the private sector. You rarely find the banking sector coming to the assembly for us to have a conversation. Would only speak after consequences of either a finance bill has been passed and is not friendly to the banking sector or the other sector. So it is time that we start talking together, because we're not just government, we're not just a county assembly. We are citizens of Kenya first before being members of county assembly or parliamentarians or any other position that you have. So it is important that we need to start speaking together, because from what Ravi has told us, policymakers are part of all this progress that we need to have. And not just policymakers, all of us are part of this progress. So I think it's not a one-man show. We are all in this, and we are in this together.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Anyone who would like to ask a question? And please, you say your name, you ask the question, because it's question time. Thank you.
Thank you, FC. So it is important when we talk about trade, we are talking about the sea. So my question is, are there any other gaps? I know, Juma, you've talked about so many gaps, but are there any other gaps you think we need to address to improve efficiency in our maritime and logistics sector? And how can we turn Africa to the Africa we envision into a connected, competitive, and trading continent? Number two, a question to you, Juma. Do you think we have maritime technological gaps? And how can we narrow those gaps so that we can make not only Kenya, but Africa competitive globally? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that table is very good with clapping. Let's support them by clapping for the question. Anyone who wants to ask a question? Okay, Ravi and Juma, you got the question? Great. It's very important I clarify.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's still morning. Good morning. My name is Munira Salim, the Director of Trading Africa Limited. It was mentioned that if we don't plan today, it will be chaos moving forward by Mr. Juma Ahmad. Again, my question is, how can KMA work with Mombasa County universities, TVETs, and the private sector to create a maritime learning ecosystem where Mombasa becomes the place people across the region come to acquire the skills needed for the future of shipping, logistics, and blue economy? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's appreciate them. One final question. All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Douglas. I have a question, or rather, I have questions for Mr. Ravi and Mr. Juma as well. So whoever feels fits can answer. And how will intelligence and data sharing across Africa's strategic trade corridors, how will it be protected, or how can data be protected from competing geopolitical interests and infrastructure dependencies? The key angles to my questions are sovereignty and foreign control. How can regional corridors maintain data and operational sovereignty when major logistics nodes are backed by external powers, such as the Gulf, China, and Western entities? The key angle again about risk management. What frameworks best mitigate cross-border friction, currencies shifts, and supply chain vulnerabilities along integrated routes? The other angle is action focus. Can we have a breakdown of how predictive intelligence can preempt disruptions before they bottleneck multilateral trade? Thank you.
Thank you. We can appreciate him. So what we will do is that we will start with the questions asked from the panelists on the podium. We will finish with Ravi responding in that order so that we come to a conclusion of the conversation.
Thank you. I thought Ravi, the expert, will start, but let me first talk about. There was a question which was put first on the maritime sector. What are the gaps we have in the maritime sector? And one thing which first I want to mention, the maritime sector is a heavily regulated sector. We are governed by international convention, which we are always trying to ensure that we remain compliant. Kenya has signed various maritime conventions, and we have a role to ensure that these conventions are fully domesticated and implemented in the country. What the biggest gaps we have and the biggest challenges which may be hindering the growth basically of our domestic shipping and the domestic infrastructure in the maritime sector. First, we can look at okay, we have a framework which may not be friendly at the moment. If you look at the Merchant Shipping Act, when it comes to ship registration, we are operating on a closed register at the moment, and this limits the vessel which they will come, because a shipping company will want to find a flag which offers them incentive. So we are having that conversation now to open our register or have a second register in the country. I think our target is by end of this government financial year, we should have a framework on our register so that we can be able to attract. I think at the moment we have about 100 vessels registered under our flag, and that is very minimal. And for us now to open that sector, we need to review the incentives or the restrictions which have been put in place. But also we have to be also aware that the risk also of opening up, because we have the reputation of our flag. We cannot be able to expose or ruin because you open, you'll find all sort of ship owners who wants to come and register their vessel. So we have to ensure that we get the right ships and the right. So one is maybe we still have regulatory gaps, which we have quite a number of regulations which have been developed. And as you know, the process of developing laws in Kenya can be very tedious, and it can take time. By the time a regulation is finalized and gazetted, sometimes it can take years, the back and forth, the stakeholders consultation. So that is an area which we are there is a huge gap in terms of the regulations, and we are hoping that we can be able now to finalize most of our regulations. We have also other regulations which are more or less trying to build our sector. We have the cabotage policy. We have the cabotage regulations. They're not a policy. The cabotage, which now intends to build domestic shipping. So that is one of the areas which we feel, and also the capacity, the human resource capacity, which we are having now in terms of qualified personnel to work in the industry and also to support the growth of the industry. The COVID-19, when it happened, it brought in a lot of challenges to the ship operators, the ship owners. And the need for resilience, the need to diversify their supply of seafarers came at the top. They could not sit down and rely from their current source market, the Philippines, the Asian market. So Africa is the next frontier. Africa is the next frontier for the supply of the seafarers. So we as Kenyans, we are moving very fast so to fill that gap. We have qualified, we have so many youths looking for jobs, and we need, and other countries are also doing the same. In Africa, Ghana is one of the frontliners in terms of seafaring supply in Africa. So we want to fill the gap. In the 80s and in the 90s, we used to have more seafarers on board the ship, and then we lost that chance because of the lack of training. So what we are doing basically is to regain our position and be able to be a major source market for the ship owners, so that they also can set camp in Kenya. But at the moment, we cannot attract a ship owner to come and set a camp here to recruit because we are yet to build the numbers of officers. So we have our local companies who are now recruiting on behalf of the ship owners, but we are hopefully in the next 5 years, Kenya will have adequate number of officers to serve the market. And the issue of technology, if I have to say, the issue of technology is very important in the maritime sector. Things are changing. We are moving to the autonomous vessel. We are moving to the data transmission, the Internet of Things. The business world is being automated. Ports are being automated. Things are becoming paperless. So what we are trying to keep up, but it's something which we really have to move very, very fast, so that we can be able to have electronic system replacing the manual system. What we are having in the sector, and now we're having like a maritime single window, which facilitates now paperless clearance of vessels and crew, and it's being done under the FAL Convention, the Maritime Convention on Facilitation of International Maritime Traffic, and which now will remove the need for the ship owners or the agent to submit hard copy crew list and any other document which are required for the clearance of vessel. We have aimed to push. Now currently we have the port community charter. We want to have an e-charter in the next few years, where now we can be able to communicate electronically between the different players in the industry. So technology, we cannot run away, and the demand for us to embrace technology is at the forefront. Even now as regulators now, how do we implement matters of marine pollution prevention using technology? How do we monitor? How do we enhance our maritime domain awareness using technology? So it's something which is a necessity rather than a luxury which we can put aside. So we are moving very fast. I've talked about our maritime data bank. And also now we are developing systems that we can automate some of the issues of the conversation or the exchanges of the information. And if I also may discuss on the, there was a question now also on issues of the geopolitical, the risk of sharing of information, information sharing. You know, like at the moment, there are certain information which have to be shared across the industry at the global, and some of them are being done under the framework of, let's say, IMO. We have some information being shared under the framework of the UN, under the framework of UNCTAD, under the framework of, we have the Indian Ocean Memorandum of Understanding on the implementation of the posted control. Everything has to be visible. If a ship has left the port of Dubai or a port in Melbourne or a port in China, it has issues, before it arrives in Mombasa, we have that information that this ship has 1 or 2, 3, 4 issues. We have to inspect it. So if a ship has been involved in one side of the continent in illegal fishing and is coming to Mombasa for registration, then we have the information of that vessel and we can be able to take action. So the sharing of information is something which is mandatory, and also it is guided by the different data protection laws across the globe. If it's EU have a very strong framework for data protection. If it's Kenya now, we have several laws that govern data protection and data sharing. So the most of the important thing is to ensure that these laws are conformed. And one of the biggest risks also the maritime industry is facing, like any other industry, is matters of cybersecurity. And we have putting several measures and strategy on how we can be able to address that. And when it comes to matters that we raised by my sister there, the matters on our collaboration and how we can be able to build and have a system, a collaborative system between the county government, the maritime regulator, the training institution. Maritime training is a very expensive venture to train, because to train in maritime institution, you need qualified personnel. You need a captain, you need a qualified, if it's not a captain, but a person who now a senior level, who has sailed. You need equipment, you need simulators, you need, so how can we look at how we can collaborate? It's very critical. Your suggestion is very, very critical. Today, if you go to, let's say Belgium, they have a system where the university, they share same facility. They have a common simulators which are shared among they have a pool of lecturers sometimes also which are shared among the university. So the university, they may not need to appoint have on permanent basis class 1 lecturers and all that. Yeah, we trained. It took us 10 to 12 years to train. One officer said, let's say on deck, and after 10 he was poached. Not 1, 2, 3. Someone offers a double salary, so it's not easy, but that is the scenario. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We can give him a round of applause. So we'll give Ravi to respond to the few questions.
Thank you. I think the first question was about the maritime industry. The maritime industry over the last 5 years, since 2020, has had a number of changes. It is vertically and horizontally integrated. You see a lot of, and when I'm talking about integration, both in terms of ocean and also land. But beyond land, we are also now going into last mile delivery, which is more urban logistics. So that whole flow is coming up. And why? Because we see a lot today in terms of that industry is heavy able to move or facilitate trade in a cohesive way. But I also want to add a few things which I think is important in this conversation. Number one, the port is beyond everything a national sovereign asset. And that said, it is extremely important that conversation or when we do, for example, the assignment for ports, especially in terms of modernization, there's a lot of importance in terms of trade secrets that goes in and out. So this is something very important that needs to be kept into, because no one really trades off a national sovereign asset. Two is the element of, I heard a lot about blue economy. Today, with the evolution of a maritime and port sector, the blue economy has is now starting to evolve. But to be honest, no one has really tapped in to understand what do we have in the blue economy. So whether it is the energy capacity, the data capacity, marine value chains, these are all new frontiers that needs to be looked into. And I really admired the purpose of coming up with a policy paper for the blue economy, which I think is very relevant today. Having said that, now, what is important is we stop thinking of a port of Mombasa as only a transit port, but a port where value is created. This is why with Dongo Kondu, my personal opinion would be, instead of it being an industrial zone, which still is second generation port, it has to move forward to become more of a logistic value added services port, including a potential of having a blue SEZ. So this is where value is created. And finally, to respond to two other things that came out in the panel, if I may, the only way to move forward is obviously we need policies, but also entrepreneurs who are able to think, create. And this is where entrepreneurs and capital is important. So capital, we don't need to look only banks as a source of capital. There are multiple other types of capital, whether it's technology, people, even in terms of finance, debt and equity. But to be able to do that, people need to be able to build themselves so that it is limited risk or de-risking all investment. And finally, it would be also important on that note that we see banks. I understand a lot of banks are whether international banks or they are continental banks or local banks, but the risk appetite needs to match exactly what the city or what the market is looking for. On the last point, which was the data, we like it or not, data, the sovereignty of data is very important, but how to manage that, this is very important today. There are at least two, in terms of what is happening in the industry, there are two hands into that. The number one is pushing in terms of TOS, which is a terminal management system, the single window, which is extremely very important in order to fluidify. But on the other hand, we see cybersecurity also coming up as a very important topic. A few years ago, we had the instance, for example, that a port in Australia couldn't work for a number of hours because of cybersecurity. We have seen a few incidences, whether it's ports or other places that have this encountered these things. So very important to look at the cybersecurity aspect also.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we ask of you, you add us a few more minutes so that we finish at 11:30, and I've ensured there is some tea there. Okay.
I forgot something. One opportunity that is with the change of the maritime industry today is short sea shipping or cabotage. Only 2% of the global vessels are owned by African. And if we look at the journeys or how the large or conventional shipping lines are doing, looking for hubs, I think it is very important that short sea shipping and also inland waterways are explored. And that would be where African maritime can position.
Thank you for that. Now, to wind up on the panel, I'll ask two questions. They are rapid fire. questions, which means the first thought is the answer. And it's either one word or a sentence, but not a paragraph. All right? So we'll begin from Krista this way. The second last question is this one. If you had 1 year and one mandate to help Mombasa produce more regional businesses, what is the one intervention you will prioritize?
I will invest heavily in building capacity, because it's that capacity that is going to absorb the growth that is ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would look at policies and how fast those can be implemented and executed.
All right. Yeah. I wish I had a rebuttal for your sentences, but I come with peace this morning. Yes, Patrick.
I'd look at how to integrate the people who are both the investors and the consumers, or the value that we create from the ports, into the whole conversation, including making policies that are friendly towards the upscaling of the blue economy sector.
Thank you. Juma?
I think creating the enabling environment for the business to grow, both in terms of policy, the fiscal regimes, and the government supporting the infrastructure needed to support. So basically, creating an enabling environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Final question. You either come from a company or an organization or a government. But in this response, I want you to respond as you. Not what the government must do, not what must the investors do, or even the chamber must do. The question is this: what must my company, which means yours, become to participate in the Mombasa that is emerging? What must your organization become to participate in the Mombasa that is emerging? Now we begin from Juma, finishing with Krista. What must your organization become to participate in the Mombasa that is emerging? And I might be writing those responses so that we follow you.
I think for us, the most critical is be technological ready for the industry. Thank you.
My organization should be informed and ready or agile enough to absorb information from outside and be able to implement it.
My organization should be agile, to be in touch with any new dynamics that are coming up in the market and support the same.
My organization should be technologically ready and world standard ready.
Thank you. We can give them a round of applause. And, and just before we sit, something has been coming out in this conversation, that the Africa we see will not be built by vision alone. You know, dreaming and seeing far is not the most important thing. Mombasa will also not be built by infrastructure alone, and businesses will not scale by capital alone. We need the vision, we need the capability, we need the systems, we need the capital, we need the markets, and we need partnerships. And above all, we need builders, not complainers. So the question as you leave this room is, are you the builder of the Africa that we see? And 6 words have emerged in this conversation. 6, if you were listening since morning. The first one is to identify. The Africa is an ocean of opportunities, but have you identified the opportunities that exist therein? Number 2 is to diagnose. You can identify, but have you diagnosed the gaps that exist so that the solution you bring, whether it's a business, whether it is financing. Are you financing from the gap that is being addressed? The word number 3 is we need to strengthen. We already have institutions, we have structures, we just need to strengthen them. Number 4 is connect. We need to reach at a point where we are building ecosystems, not working in isolation. How can we build ecosystems around so that even if you need financing, it's plug in and play. We don't need the banker to go and assess you because we already built an ecosystem. We also, number 5, need finance. Every dream needs to be financed. Even our education is financed. It's not free. Even if it's said free, there is somebody paying for it. So we need finance. And lastly, we need to scale. We need to scale. We need to start thinking big and playing big. And as you can see, the Chamber of Mombasa has scaled. We are one of the chambers having serious conversations about our economy, our businesses, and where we are going. Now, we also need evidence of the businesses in Mombasa scaling up so that our work can be able to be seen. So the objective is to build businesses that matter. We need to create jobs, create value, businesses that export, innovate, and participate in regional value chains, and businesses that can survive beyond their founders, and most importantly, businesses that can carry Mombasa's name beyond Mombasa. And perhaps that is the real meaning of the term, the Africa I see. So thank you very much, our amazing panelists. I allow you to stand up so that the photographers can take us a very nice picture. And as you clap for us, hey, the audience, oh my goodness. Thank you. You may have your seats. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to come to a conclusion of this conversation, allow me to invite Director Mvoi to come and give us the closing remarks of this session. Please, let's give her a round of applause. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes to conclude this conversation.
Thank you, Director. The name is Elizabeth Mvoi Mwasaru. Good morning. Before I give my vote of thanks, I want to take this opportunity to introduce the board members of the Chamber of Commerce. Of course, you know our chairman, Mr. Abud Jamal. Naeza simama usalimie. We have Director Mwinyi with us. And of course, Director Vincent. And our former director, Dominic Mureithi. And before I conclude, let me introduce my boss, the chairperson of the Mombasa Law Society, Madam Natasha. Please clap for her. She's also the chairperson of the Coast branch of the Law Society of Kenya and the chair of all the chairpersons in the country. A woman of substance. To our members, our guests, our partners, and most of all our speakers, thank you so much for the valuable interactions we've had this morning. I'm sure we have connected with each other, haven't we? I'm sure we have gotten contacts, and we've come up with solutions that are going to help our businesses move forward. Asanteni sana na karibuni chamber. For those who are not members of the Chamber of Commerce, kindly make sure you register and leave your contacts. We are going to give you a call so that you can join the movement. God bless you and have a good day.
Thank you, Director Mvoi. I will now, of course, we always have to do the same array of photos so that we can have evidence that we came here today. I'll invite the photographers. I believe we will do the photos here. If we could push the seats to the front. We'll begin with the high table. our guest Ravi, the chair, and the panelists could come to the stage. They will have their photo first, and then all of us will be able to join them after that. Please. And directors of the chamber as well, please. Directors of the